Hi everyone, I'm Gruntled Otter, and I am a deck builder. Earth Machine, a deck that holds a special place in my heart, just got some support in the upcoming set Supreme Darkness with Clockwork Night, which is the new Link 1, and this will be a showcase of a concept deck list for that future format. Supreme Darkness is a ways away, and there might still be more developments, but I've got the list to the point where I feel comfortable showing it to serve as a jumping off point for others. It's quite a bit different from other Earth Machine lists, so if you're a seasoned Earth Machine player, I would just ask you to reserve your judgment until you try it. So following current deck building trends, the list focuses on resilience over sealing, with a high non-engine count and redundancy in lines in the sense that opening multiple starters can usually restart your combo if you get interrupted. The deck plays low to the ground with typical end boards, and by typical I mean 9 out of 13 starters, ending on high Wave King Caesar, and then either Dora or Varudras, and Machina Citadel in the graveyard. The deck plays 50 non-engine, so it brings the deck up to modern standards so you can take part in hand trap checking wars. Getting anything to stick on the board usually wins you the game in this format, and this deck excels at that compared to older Earth Machine variants at the expense of having a lower ceiling. This addresses some of the problems with the previous variants of the deck, since I don't consider 9 or 6 hand traps playable right now, although some exceptions exist. I found the modest end board plus the 92% chance of opening at least one hand trap or a 63% chance of opening 2 is more than enough to win games. I would say this places Earth Machine back in kind of the rogue playable category. Combos will be at the end of the video, and deck list is in the description. The new Link 1 and Scrap Recycler are the foundations of the deck. The new Link 1 searches Clockwork Night, which is meh for Earth Machine, but the second effect, attribute a monster to summon another machine under 1000 attack, is the really broken one. It lets us loop Scrap Recycler, which is a soft once per turn, and Scrap is now, in my opinion, the best Earth Machine card, and it should be abused. Every combo line eventually ends up with Scrap Recycler being dragged out of the graveyard repeatedly and activated a total of 3 times. The first dump from Scrap Recycler is used to dump an extender like O-Line or Jet Synchron. You revive the Scrap Recycler using the Link 1 and dump Machina Citadel or Ruinforce depending on the combo. And then you revive Scrap Recycler a third time using the Scrap Dragon Link, dumping Kochobo Hinamatsuri. This Kochobo Hinamatsuri is a new TCG exclusive card that brings the deck all together. This card is amazing and no one is talking about it. Basically, if you have a machine on the field, you can special summon it from hand or graveyard, and it copies the machine on the field's level, locking you into XYZ, but making easy rank 10s. The best part of it is actually pretty subtle. It's supposed to banish itself when it leaves the field, but if you made a rank 10 with it, Kochobo does not count as being on the field anymore since it's a material, and it'll actually go back to the graveyard by game mechanics. The impact of this should not be understated. It's basically an infinitely recurring XYZ material for any level of XYZ machine deck. It's fucked. The deck has 13 1-card and 1.5-card starters plus Pot of Prosperity. On top of this, you have extenders like Clockwork Night, the spell, that can help you restart your combo if you're interrupted. Gearframe is definitely the worst starter, as if he is interrupted, none of the other starters restart the combo, so that's why he's at 1. The upshot of this is that you get to run Machina Redeployment, which, when paired with any of the other starters, it can play through Imperm or Ash, and it also dumps a card, which is really useful in this deck. Foolish Burial Goods is used to dump Clockwork Night, the spell, to the graveyard, which then can be used to search Scrap Recycler, or any extender if you already have it. Pot of Prosperity banish targets are usually the Fiendsmith line cards with Varudras and Skypalace Gangaridai. I know my pronunciation's great. If you have no other information on your opponent at the time. There are 5 decent cards to draw, which represent extenders or utility cards in different hands. And then finally there are 6 engine requirements, which aren't hard garnets, but do nothing in your hand. Even so, drawing something like the Scrap Golem isn't the end of the world, it just reduces your board. Kochobo is only in the 6 engine requirement category because you don't want to use her as an extender. You want to use her as part of your baseline combo. And then we have 1 Fiendsmith Engraver for Wave High King Caesar lines, And just a note on Machina Citadel and Ruinforce, they're both needed for this build, they're not optional. And then we have the 15 non-engine. The temptation is to reduce this number to increase the ceiling of the deck, but I would caution against that, especially in this meta. The floor of the deck really matters a lot more. Note that this is shown with a generic hand trap lineup for this current format, but this will probably need to change to 15 board breakers come Ryziel based on what the OCG is experiencing. But even then, we don't know exactly how the format will turn out in the TCG, so keep that in mind. 15 is more than enough for the hand trap chucking gameplay that we all love. Just note that in a board breaker format, Fiendsmith Dias Irae or Evilzor Lars might be a better option than Caesar. Same thing goes for the side deck. The side deck and the Anon engine should always be tailored to the format, so this will probably change. A few notes, there's anti-synergy between Nibiru and the starter on your mark, get set, go when going second, which is why it's in the side. This can be accommodated by siding out some or all of the on your marks for matchups where Nibiru is great. Note that Pentastag can be handy for OTKing with piercing damage if you know you're going second, since you have the bodies to make it with any of the non-Machina starter lines. The Black Goat Laughs can be sided in place of one of the Clockwork Knights, as it can be used as a board breaker going second, with Foolish Burial Goods dumping it to the grave. Looking at the extra deck, we have 4 cards of the Fiendsmith package. An ineffective Way King Caesar can actually be so oppressive as an endboard piece, and the utility of any 2 monsters making it are great for always getting something to stick on the board. Varudras can be made with any of the lines that you don't use Unclaspare. If I've played through a couple of interruptions and I see that the opponent's only on 3 cards or whatever, I sometimes make Varudras instead of Dora. Note that Scrap Wyvern, a standard part of the non-Gearframe lines, gets better when you're going second because it can pop one of your opponent's cards instead, so that helps a lot. Skypalace Gangaridai helps with certain OTKs where you have other monsters and they have lots of cards you need to remove. Platinum Gadget and Gear Gigant X are for the Gearframe lines. Now the combos. Just a note, I'm going to be showing you 1 card and 1.5 card combos here. If you want to play through interruptions with 2 card combos, the combos aren't very circular, so sequencing matters a lot. And it makes a difference between playing through or not. Unfortunately, all the combinations are too much for one video, but a bit of experimentation and test hands will teach you everything you need to know. Just try different orders of the starters. Scrap Recycler and Foolish Burial Goods play through Droll, which is nice, and Nibiru is still a weakness of the deck, but some hands can play through it rather than around it. If you're concerned about this, running Anger Knuckle in the side deck, the extra deck, and Turbo Booster can help play through more. Actually, Turbo Booster is one card that has a lot of utility in this deck, and I'm still torn on that one. I may include it in future builds. Anyways, thanks for listening, and on to the combos.